1, 0, all engine running.
Think back to July 1969. Do you remember where you were when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface? 500 million people were glued to their television sets. But let's be honest, as breathtaking as that moment was, the footage looked like it was filmed through a bucket of milk. It was blurry, it was full of static, and if you blinked, you missed it. For over 50 years, that grainy, ghostly image was our standard for what deep space looked like. Because back then, NASA was relying on primitive radio waves to send data across 250,000 miles of empty space. It was the cosmic equivalent of dial-up internet. But this past April, everything changed. During the historic Artemis II mission, humanity went back to the moon. Only this time, we didn't just get crackly voice clips. We got a front-row seat in flawless, high-definition live streaming. We watched the lunar surface roll by in near real time at speeds that rival your home internet connection. How did NASA pull this off? How do you stream a 4K video from a spacecraft traveling thousands of miles an hour, 250,000 miles away? The answer isn't better radios. The answer is lasers. And today, we are going inside the mind-boggling technology that just brought the universe into focus. To understand how massive this leap is, we have to look at how NASA has been talking to space for the last 6 decades. Ever since the days of Gemini and Apollo, space agencies have used radio frequency, or RF, networks. Radio waves are reliable. They travel through dust, they bend around obstacles, and they get the job done. But they have a massive limitation: bandwidth. Think of a radio wave like a single-lane country road. You can drive a car down it, sure. But if you try to fit an entire fleet of semi-trucks loaded with 4K video data down that same road at the same time, everything grinds to a halt. Radio waves simply can't carry enough data per second because their carrier frequency is too low. That's why the Apollo images were so degraded. NASA had to compress the video so tightly just to squeeze it through that tiny radio pipeline. The modern Artemis spacecraft are packed with ultra-high-resolution cameras, environmental sensors, and scientific instruments. They generate terabytes of data. If NASA relied solely on old-school radio, it would take weeks, sometimes months, after a capsule splashed down in the ocean just to download the files from the onboard hard drives. If a hard drive got corrupted on the way back, that history would be lost forever. NASA needed a multi-lane superhighway, and they found it by weaponizing light. This is where the heroes of our story come in: the brilliant minds at MIT Lincoln Laboratory and NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. Together, they developed a revolutionary piece of tech called the O20, the Orion Artemis II optical communications system. Instead of radio waves, O20 uses invisible, infrared laser light. Because infrared light has a much higher carrier frequency than radio waves, it can pack information tightly together. We are talking about transmitting 10 to 100 times more data per second than traditional space communication. During its 10-day mission in April, this tiny laser payload downlinked nearly 0.5 terabyte of data at blazing speeds of up to 260 megabits per second. To put that in perspective, that's faster than the average American home internet connection. Because the data transferred so fast, astronauts were able to clear the memory cards on their onboard cameras in real time, freeing them up to take even more footage. And thank goodness they did, because the images they captured were nothing short of breathtaking. For the first time in human history, we witnessed a nearly hour-long total solar eclipse from deep space, with other planets clearly visible against a backdrop of pure stars. We saw the forbidden far side of the moon in glorious detail, and the cameras even caught the brief, violent flashes of tiny meteoroids crashing into the lunar soil. And we saw it all almost instantly. Now, you might be thinking, okay, shooting a laser from the moon sounds great. But how do you actually catch it on Earth? Think about how hard it is to keep a laser pointer perfectly still on a wall across the room. Now imagine you are standing on a merry-go-round that's spinning, trying to hit a dime that's taped to a speeding bullet 250,000 miles away. That is the engineering nightmare NASA had to solve. Spacecraft aren't sitting still. They are barreling through space, while the Earth itself is spinning. To pull this off, the 020 system relied on an award-winning piece of hardware called Mascot, Modular, Agile, and Scalable Optical Terminal. This system uses hyper-advanced internal mirrors and sensors to constantly adjust and track ground stations on Earth, completely compensating for the movement of the spacecraft and the distortion caused by Earth's atmosphere. The laser beam was aimed at 3 primary optical ground stations across the globe. 1. NASA's White Sands Test Facility in New Mexico. 2. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory's Table Mountain Facility in California. 3. An experimental station at the Australian National University's Mount Stromlo Observatory. As long as the Orion spacecraft had a direct line of sight with just one of these stations, the data kept flowing. Together with our standard ground networks, it created the first true space internet backbone. What's fascinating is that NASA didn't fully realize how incredible this system would be until the mission was actively underway. Originally, the flight plan only called for the laser system to be used for just 1 hour a day. The rest of the time, they planned to fall back on the old reliable radio systems. But once the mission kicked off, the operators at Mission Control realized just how insanely useful the laser link was. They didn't want to turn it off. In an incredible display of real-time teamwork, engineers from MIT Lincoln Labs, NASA Goddard, and flight controllers began changing the mission parameters on the fly. They actually altered the orientation, the physical tilt, of the Orion spacecraft during its flight just to keep the laser pointed at the ground stations for as long as possible. Brian Robinson, a lead specialist at Lincoln Laboratory, noted how rare this kind of flexibility is in spaceflight. Because humans hadn't been to the moon in over 50 years, the operators were willing to throw out the rigid script and embrace this cutting-edge technology. And it paid off beautifully. As we look forward, the success of Artemis II changed everything about how we explore the cosmos. Scientists are currently analyzing the data, and they believe that by fixing minor bottlenecks in our ground networks, they can make this laser system 10 times faster on future missions. This isn't just about pretty pictures for us to look at on our phones. This technology is the foundation for NASA's next massive initiative, Project Ignition. The goal? To establish a permanent, sustainable human base on the moon. If we are going to live on the moon, we need to communicate like we live there. We need medical data, engineering diagnostics, and yes, even video calls to loved ones back home to flow seamlessly. From the scratchy, black and white ghost images of 1969 to streaming 4K video through a beam of light across the void of space, human ingenuity never ceases to amaze. We are no longer just visiting the moon. We are wiring it for the future. What do you think? Would you take a trip to the moon if you knew you still had high-speed internet? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep looking up.